Welcome to Personality Speaking, where the tea is always hot. My name is Karen Ward. I'm an advanced certified personality trainer and speaker. I'm an author of the book Coupled for Life, Overcoming Personality Differences in Marriage. I am a personality coach, and I'm your host of Personality Speaking. I am so excited tonight, you guys. We're going to talk about some really good stuff. We had some technical difficulties with a couple of our guests. One may be popping back in. The other one had scheduling conflict. So it's okay. We're going to keep it moving because Stephen and I are here together and we're going to rock the house tonight. Well, I'm going to get in. I'm going to introduce him in a second. Listen, we're going to be talking about personalities as it relates to relationships. Tonight's is navigating your relationships by understanding our personalities. So I'm excited about this topic tonight. I have on the show was supposed to be the brothers, but I have one of the brothers right now. The other one's popping in right as we speak. So I'm adding him to the stream. And he's looking pretty good. So I'm hoping we can have him in for the whole time. But anyway, this show is dedicated. This show is dedicated to helping you understand your personalities and build healthier, stronger relationships. We're going to be talking about some terms that you may not understand. I'll be speaking about sanguine and choleric and melancholy and phlegmatic. Those are personality styles, and they were developed by the world-renowned Florence Littauer, who I studied under. And became advanced certified under. And so I'm excited about that. If you want to know more about those, because we did a brief overview in our very early shows. So if you check in on our very early show, you can see what the overview of the personalities are. Or you can go to my website, Beyond2, BEYONDTWOLLC.com. Again, that's Beyond2LLC.com. Thank you. I'm excited about this. Okay. So let me introduce tonight's guest. I'm excited about it. Tonight's guest was introduced to me by my sister in Christ, Dr. Celeste Owens, who went on to be with the Lord in November, and who I truly miss. She was more than a sister to me. And these gentlemen were introduced on her platform, the 40-Day Surrender Fast, when we were doing a surrender fast. And they were affectionately known as the brothers. Because they were Celeste Owens's brothers. But now they're my baby brothers. All of them, I think, are younger than me. So they're my baby brothers. And so let me introduce them to you. First, we have Jason Chisholm, who is a multifaceted individual who embodies the essence of a dedicated minister, compassionate family man, successful entrepreneur, and an advocate for men's well-being. On October the 5th of 81, he was born to Donald and Melinda Chisholm, who was nurtured in an environment that fostered spiritual growth and strong values. I know that for a fact because I know both of those wonderful individuals. In 2004, he embraced his calling and became a minister, finding solace and purpose in serving at the Latter-day Rain Cathedral under the esteemed leadership of his late father, Pastor Donald Chisholm Sr. Alongside his ministerial pursuits, Jason has flourished as a father of his two wonderful children, Jason Jr. And help me, Jason, with this. Aliyah. How do you pronounce her name?
Aliyah, yeah.
Aliyah, okay. Aliyah Chisholm.
Can you hear me?
Aliyah, okay. Who bring immense joy to his life. Beyond his spiritual endeavors and family commitments, he has established himself as a successful entrepreneur, owning and managing a distribution company. In his commitment to uplifting men, Jason also spearheads a men's group, providing a supportive platform for men to address a wide range of topics and find camaraderie. With his unwavering dedication to his faith, family, and business, and well-being of others, Jason Chisholm continues to leave a positive and lasting impact on those he encounters. Amen. All right, so that's Jason, who's going in and out, so we don't know if we're going to have him most of the time. So let me introduce his brother, my younger brother, Minister Stephen Chisholm. Stephen T. Chisholm is a devoted man of God, dedicated his life to Christ in 2010 and is known for his compassion and love for others. He is happily married to his beautiful wife, Naima, and has two sons, Jameer and Jonah. And Jameer's 12, Jonah's 3. Stephen received his associate's degree in building management in 2016 from Erie Community College and started a business, Chisholm Distribution Services, in 2018. He has been passionate about creating contract opportunities for business-minded individuals looking for work independently. Stephen is the head coach of his son's middle school varsity basketball team at St. Joseph's University School in Buffalo, where he uses the principles of the scripture, Philippians 4:13, to lead and encourage the young men he coaches. Amen. He attends Latter-day Rain Cathedral, founded by his late father, Superintendent Donald Chisholm Sr., who passed away in 2020, and now is currently being led by his brother, Pastor Donald Chisholm Jr. Welcome, Stephen, and welcome, Jason, too. We'll see if he keeps popping in and out.
Right.
I know, listen, when I started this podcast, I was having nothing but troubles when I first started it. Because the internet was just shaky, and I ended up getting a streaming service that seemed to help with it, but it's just a nightmare. I don't know, this whole technology thing. But while we're waiting on Jason to pop back in, if he's able to, let's talk about a little bit about you and your personality. Tell me, how would you describe your personality style?
Well, first, I would like to say thank you, Karen, big sis, for inviting us on. So I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome.
Yeah. So I think I believe I'm a sanguine, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I believe I'm more of an optimistic individual. I think I can see, I feel like God has blessed me with the ability to see the light out of any tunnel that, I might be placed in. So I always am just optimistic. So I think,
would you say you're outgoing as well? You think you're very outgoing, or?
I do think I'm outgoing. See, and you know what? From reading your book, I understand that there's like a primary and there's a secondary.
Right.
So you're going to have to help me with that.
Okay.
I'm outgoing at times. So not all the time.
Gotcha.
I'm outgoing. But again, I'm not just I'm not going to spearhead all the parties or anything like that. But I feel like more the optimistic side of things. I think that's why I label myself sanguine. But again, you're going to have to help me with that.
Gotcha. Okay, I could do that. Now, my thing is this. You could potentially be one extroverted personality and one introverted personality style, right? Mm-hmm. Because the sanguine personality is the kind of personality that is very outgoing, will talk to anybody. They're usually very talkative. That's me. Bubbly, that kind of thing. Yeah. But the phlegmatic is also very social, but they're more introverted. And they like to be social, but they're social with smaller groups of people. So where I like to be around 100,000 people, the phlegmatic prefers to be around the smaller group of people that they trust, but they're still very social. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, look at that. You figured me out already.
Okay. Hey, Jason, we got you back.
I had to go old school and go for my phone.
Well, you know what? It looks like it's more stable.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, it looks like even the picture looks better. Okay. I was just asking Stephen to tell me what he thought his personality, how would he describe his personality? So I'm going to ask you the same question. How would you describe your personality?
Ooh, I'm more laid back type of person. I consider myself, I let a lot of things just kind of roll off, stuff like that. So I'm more laid back. I'm more non-confrontational type of person. Definitely, people say I'm funny. I don't see it, but but I'm definitely a loving person, man. Loving person for sure. So I will go with that for the main part.
Would you say you are more introverted than extroverted, or a little bit of both?
Oh, I would definitely say a little bit of both. But when I was young, I had to develop the extrovert actually, because when I was young, man, I was so introverted, people thought I was weird. And this was for a while. Yeah, and this was for a while. But once I got out into the social world, I had to kind of redevelop myself and become more extroverted just by the things I was doing.
So I think that's interesting because my daughter is an extrovert and an introvert. So she's an introvert first and then an extrovert second, right?
Mhm.
Growing up until she was probably before she hit puberty, she was so introverted before she hit puberty, right? She would just stare at people. She was a watcher, and that's a phlegmatic. Phlegmatics are watcher. They like to watch life and see what people do. And she could tell you everything that was going on because she wouldn't say a word. She would just watch people. When she hit puberty, she started leaning more towards her extroverted personality style, which is her sanguine, right? So now she's the life of the party. But she could go either way. There'll be days when she's like, I had enough of y'all, go home. And then other days when she's the life of the party.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting. So you guys might both be one introverted personality and one extroverted personality. How
Yeah,
about that?
I agree with that. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to know too, are you guys in relationships?
As far as what?
So are you married? Are you single? Are you dating? So let's start with you first, Stephen.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been married 10 years since September. So I've been married,
Wow.
yeah, 10 years. Yeah. Let's give
Nice,
it.
nice.
And my wife and I, we actually been together for 20 years.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah, I knew her
So
longer than I knew Steve.
Did you? Because I thought you knew him at least coming out the womb.
right.
That's so interesting. So what should they hit you in the head with a club to get married? I'm just asking.
Yeah, I don't know. It got something to do with my personality. I couldn't
Probably.
a little
Probably
too
wouldn't shoot.
social.
Right, too social. What about you, Jason? Are you married, single, what?
No, I'm divorced actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I got divorced in 2020.
Okay. Oh, during
And
the pandemic.
during the pandemic, that ain't right?
No, it ain't right. And a lot of that happened honestly, that happened a lot during the pandemic. The courts were backed up and they had, stopped a lot of those things from happening because the courts couldn't handle it because they were
Ours
shut
was
down
actually
during the pandemic.
right before the pandemic hit, though.
Oh, yours broke right
Yeah, right
before.
before. Yeah, I got out of there just in time. I'm just joking. Just joking.
Just joking. So now you're single.
Yes.
Are you dating?
No.
Okay.
No.
Now, and we had Don on the show too, but he couldn't make it. How long has he been married?
If I had to guess, I think it's like 2 years.
Yeah, we're talking about like 2 years.
Yeah, maybe 2 years. Yeah.
He was a baby in that thing.
Yeah, it's all over the place.
Well, you know how long we've been married, Dan and I?
How long?
Guess. If
You
you had
want
to
to
guess.
guess? Oh, 22.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Yeah,
What
I
you
was gonna
think?
say 25.
Okay, 29. It will be 29 in October.
Oh.
Yeah, he
Okay.
married me right out of the crib.
Congratulations. Right out of the crib.
Right out of the crib. Soon as he said, his mother said to my mother, let's marry these babies, because that's what happened. I'm not old enough to be married 29 years.
Y'all one of my favorite couples too.
Yeah, for sure.
We love you guys.
Yeah, I was just talking about your husband recently about when we first met him. I said, man, this man talks so loud, but by the end of that retreat, he was our best friend.
He is loud though. I mean, honestly, and he's here too, but he is loud. And I just sometimes I'll be like, okay, babe, you're in the eardrum. But so am I. And I've been loud my whole life. People used to say, like, can you bring it down a little bit? You're so loud. So imagine the both of us together. We're both sanguines and we're both cholerics. Mm. So Dan is a choleric first, which means he's a born leader. He's a mover and a shaker. He gets more stuff done in the morning than I get or anybody else gets done all week. Mm-hmm. And but he's a sanguine second. I'm a sanguine first, which means I'm a fun girl. is all about having fun and living life to the full and enjoy being spontaneous. And he's that secondary. So when we go on vacation, it's like, woo, party over here. But when we're trying to decide things, geez, it's like two bulls in a china cabinet. Like everybody's right, everybody got to have their way.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about, I want to get into some categories. I'm going to talk about communication. I want to talk about finances, and I want to talk about forgiveness as it relates to dating and being married. Like what, and I want you guys to tell us stories if you have stories, right? About any of the topics that we're talking about. But first of all, I want to know, how would you approach effective communication in your relationships? And anybody can take it first. Who wants to go first?
Yeah, effective communication.
Yeah, how do you approach it in your relationship?
Right. So when I approach effective communication, I am very thoughtful. I like to gather my thoughts first. Because I got to be careful. Like, could this be confrontational? Could this be? It depends on what the communication is, right?
Right.
But what I live by is that there's no such thing as not enough communication. I'll over communicate if I have.
Oh, I love it.
Because I like things to be nipped in the bud. But I would hate to not say enough. But the way I approach it is just simply listen, if I feel like I have a thought that I feel like needs to be considered, I make sure it's a safe place, and then I just kind of communicate right then and there. My wife and I, we've been together so long, we talk. To drop
that's good.
We talk.
Yeah.
So, again, it depends on the communication. If it's good communication, it's always a safe space for good communication. If it's something that could be confrontational or, can cause some sort of conflict, then that's when I'm very careful about my thoughts. And then I want to consider, is this worth bringing up? Or, I kind of ponder on the thought before I allow it to release. And then, just so I can know, just so I could be sure that this could be a constructive conversation, opposed to something just being brushed off.
Well, I like that because sometimes I think, especially if your personality is non-confrontational, to approach it from a safe space. Like, how can I communicate so that it is safe for me to receive the feedback, right? But also safe for my spouse to be able to communicate, with me effectively. And I can tell you that really comes from the non-confrontational part is a phlegmatic trait. So phlegmatics are non-confrontational. They would rather let you have the argument, let you have whatever it is that you want. I don't want to fight with you, so you can have it, right? Mm-hmm. That's not a sanguine and a choleric route.
No. Yeah. No.
And melancholies also are personalities that like to really talk things out in detail, right? But I'm interested to hear, Jason, how do you approach effective communication?
See, mine's is more of a work in progress. I would go in and say, just like we're saying, I'm non-confrontational. So when I was married to a person that wanted to talk right then and there, and I needed time to cool off, because there's no 0, 1, 2, 3 with me. It's 0 or 10. That's it with me. And I've learned from a long time ago, when my father sat me down one time. This was when I was young. He was like, "Yeah, you're just like me." He said, "You have to learn how to harness your anger or harness your bad temper." And ever since he said that, I tried. So I've been trying and I've tried to the point to where now my first thing is just to be calm. Try to get calm first before I communicate and things like that. But effective communication is a lot like I watch my brother's marriage, Steven's marriage, and stuff like that. Me and him talk all the time. So I learned some things from him. And my effective communication is pretty much just allowing a person to speak, because I was a person that even when you're speaking, I'm thinking, and so I'm not really listening because I got my point, and my point is about to be so good. I just need you to hurry and make your point. But
Because
I've
you're
learned.
formulating your answer while she's talking.
Right. So that was one thing I learned during during being married. Man, I had to actually listen to what she was saying because I talked to her recently, maybe like a year ago, about this. Man, I said, funny thing about it, a lot of the stuff that you were saying was actually good. It was actually
Yeah,
true, and
yeah.
it actually helped the relationship while we were in it. So I think that was my biggest thing now is trying to just listen to what a person is saying and then listen in an effective way to actually take it on.
I love that. Sanguines are quick to anger, right? But we get over it just as quickly, right? So we'll
Oh
get
yeah.
mad, blow up, and they're like, okay, babe, let's go to dinner. And unfortunately, the other person may not be able to process it the same way, right? They need time to be to process their thoughts or their feelings or their emotions, or even your apology takes time for them to process. And I find it interesting because you were saying in the beginning how you have to process your thoughts. And no, you want to get into something, but other people may want to process their thoughts, and that is true. And that's where the personalities is good to understand, because what happens is one personality is a personality that really wants to get it off their chest and nip it in the bud, like you said too, Stephen, right? You want to nip it in the
Mhm.
bud, get it out, get it done, be done with it. And the other personality says, wait a minute, what did he just say to me? What does it mean to me? What did I think he
Mhm.
meant? Now, how do I feel about that? And they have to process that, and they need time. And so sometimes they'll even tell you, I need time. I can't
Mhm.
deal with this right now. And it's because extroverted personality styles, the sanguine and the choleric, we process information like this, just really quickly, right? Introverted personalities process information like this, right? They take their time, they think about it, they consider all factors.
Right.
We just process differently. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, in our communication, we don't always communicate the way our partner needs us to, right?
Right.
And if we could learn that about each other, it would make for more effective communication. All
Yeah.
I
right.
agree.
So let me ask you, what were some of the challenges you faced in expressing your needs in your current or your past relationships?
Oh, I think mine was more of just actually saying it. I know that sounds simple, but that was my biggest thing was just actually saying it because I would I used to be what kind of still am. I think I still am. Let me stop not say I used to be, but I'm trying to work on it. But I used to be a person like if she was just to ask me like, what do you want for dinner? Well, what do you want for dinner? Like type of stuff like that. Even though I know I want pizza, you know what I'm saying? I just wouldn't say it because I wasn't sure how you were going to take it. And so I think that's one of my biggest things there.
Really? Okay. And
Yeah.
what about you?
Yeah, when it came into expressing my needs, I think one of the things I struggle with is I don't know if I'm over considering the other person to where I
Hmm.
don't want to inconvenience anyone. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I would have this process of like these preconceived thoughts.
Mm.
Like it's some sort of narrative going on in my mind where I'm thinking, this might inconvenience the person, and then I might just bite my tongue and kind of live with the results of however things play out. Because when it
Oh.
comes to doing something, needing something, sometimes I might really need something. And my wife is, she's just awesome. She really helps me with a lot of things that I need. So I don't want to come off like as if I'm a one man band, but
Right.
but when it comes to it, like even just going beyond my wife, like um other business partners and stuff, it might just be things that I need, and I may not say it because I'm almost thinking in my mind it might inconvenience you, and I
Mm.
can't deal with that sort of rejection. So it's just like I'll just try to figure it out myself or do it myself, or I might suffer through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just thinking someone else's convenience, and that's something I kind of struggle with.
Well, I can tell you too, phlegmatics don't like rejection. They have a fear of rejection.
Hmm.
And so if you're a phlegmatic personality, that's where that stems from. So you're processing that in your head, you know, and you're trying to process the best outcome. Sometimes it's just better to let the person tell you
Right.
without you taking
Right.
it personally, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I
Yeah, 'cause I
also
think.
think
Oh, I'm sorry.
no, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead,
I was
Jay.
just gonna say because there's another thing that caused is by the end of the night, she's asking you what's wrong. You know what's wrong, but you're still not saying it because you haven't said what you wanted to say earlier. You knew I wanted pizza, but even though I never said it, it's in my
Right.
head. But by the end of the
Right.
night, man, I'm eating something I really don't want, or I'm doing something I really don't want to do just because I've never stepped up to do it. And the thing about it, what I've learned about women in general, or I'll just say my ex-wife, but women in general, is that they like for you to step up and say exactly what you want instead of them having to go around the corner and keep guessing on what they think you might want. We could avoid so many situations by
So many.
literally speaking our mind.
And you know what you if a person doesn't know what you think or what you feel, what the mind doesn't know, it makes up, right?
Right.
So if
Right.
you don't give it to them, we're gonna make it up, and it's
Right.
gonna be probably a lot worse than if you had just said whatever it is you wanted or didn't want.
Right.
Right.
But
Right.
just say it in love. You know, that's the thing.
Right.
There are personalities like the choleric and the melancholy. Those personalities don't always, they tell you the truth, but they don't always tell it to you in love. They just, you're
Right.
gonna know the truth.
Right.
You may not like it, but you know the
Right.
truth. So how do you this we're still in communication, right?
Hmm.
How do you navigate misunderstandings or conflicts in your relationships?
Well, I navigate. I navigated through showing, especially conflicts. I would try to be as logical as possible, right? And I would
Hmm.
try to empathize. And like you said, like I believe you said the introverts is kind of processing things slower. I would take that into consideration because my wife, she is like this. She thinking like this.
Yes.
She expect me to be that way, and I tell her I'm not processing it that. I'll tell her
Right.
I'm not processing it that way. But we are gonna hash this out.
Right.
Like we're gonna figure this out, and then we're gonna take as much time as we need to take. And I try not to be judgmental on her part. I always try to tell her, listen, I know whatever you're telling me, it is your truth. So I'm not debating
Mhm.
it. I'm not dismissing it. I just hope that you can hear what I'm saying. And I am gonna fight to hear everything you're saying, and I'm gonna try to process that, and I'm gonna try to sympathize with it. Even if we want to take the first 20 minutes to half hour to just focusing on your issue with me, I'm willing to do that. Just let me know. Just promise me that we can do the same thing, vice versa. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I'm willing to just, when it comes to conflict, I'm willing to let it take as much time as it needs to take. Because if someone truly needs to apologize, then that needs to get done. And so if
Right.
it's on me to apologize, I want to be quick to apologize. I'm just the type of person, I have to see it first.
Right.
If
Right.
it's on me, and I need you to allow the same amount of time because you need to be careful as well that it might just be you who are the one who is offensive in that, in this
Yeah.
conflict. So at the end of the day, I'm willing to I try to remind my wife I would let this take as much time. I'm not trying to rush this thing. Let's
Yeah.
talk and hash it out because it's going to make both of us better. I
Yeah.
know it's going to make me better.
I love that. I love that. And what about you, Jason?
Mine's is more of a. I try to create. I guess to say it, the best way to say it is a safe place, just to let them know that okay, we can communicate now. Like I may throw out a joke or something like that, or I may come try to tickle you or something like that, just to let you know, even though we're arguing, let's hash this out. Let's see
Right.
what we can do. Let's see where the problem is. And I agree with Stephen about the apology. You apologize, but what I've also learned is all apologies are not created the same at
That's
all.
true. That's
They are
true.
not created the same. They want like I hate to say they because I'm not married right now, so I'm just referring to women. But women that I've been coming in contact with, they want you to say exactly why you're apologizing. Don't just say, oh, I apologize,
Sorry.
Dad. Let's go get some ice
Sorry.
cream.
I'm
Let's go get some
sorry.
ice cream because they know that's not genuine. So what I try to do is lay it out what I feel like I've done wrong, what I feel like offended you, And if you offended me, I'm letting you know in the same sentence, this is what offended me, even if it seems small to you, it's big to me. You offended me,
Yeah.
and it made it seem small. So I apologize for what I did, but you did offend me as well. If that seems to be the case.
Yeah, that took me a long time to realize that that I needed to apologize. Dan is a quick. He apologizes a lot quicker than I do, even when he's not wrong. I think he must have learned me. He was like, let me just apologize and she'll shut up. But he does. He will apologize faster than me. In the early parts of our marriage, I would get mad with him and I'd be mad for a month. Like,
wow.
And it would be, I would only answer certain ways. It would be 3 answers. If he asked me a question, it'd be yes or no. And if it had required more than a yes or no, it would be, I don't know. But I would hold a grudge for so long. And I learned that was just not, it's just not good to do that. Because first of all, Dan would come in and out of here like he didn't even realize I was mad at him. Hey, babe, kiss me. I would be so, what is kissing me? Get off of me. He also used to do this thing. It was really funny. He would chase me down and tackle me and then kiss me all over my face until I start laughing. Then try to lick me in my ear. Oh, that's so disgusting.
That's great communication right there.
Yeah. He knew how to do it. He knew how to break it.
That's something I would do for sure.
Yeah. And he would make me laugh. I was like, you get on my nerves. All right, let's switch topics because, this is the kind of conversation that I think is wonderful. But we can be done within an hour and only on one conversation. One topic. So let's talk about finances. Mm-hmm. How do you manage your personal finances with your significant other? How do you even have conversations about money?
See, mine's actually before I got married, we talked about it, but it was just one of them things when you said we talked about it, but I had in my head already what we was going to do. It was one of those things because I grew up with my parents and I seen how they did things. And guess what, Karen? Their marriage worked. So I said, hey, let me take everything that they do and I'm going to do it in my marriage and my marriage is going to work, So what they did was they ran off of one account. Everything was in one account and things like that. So I assumed that's just how life was. Mm-hmm. And so I tried that in my marriage. I said, oh, we're going to just do everything through one account and we're going to just do it that way. And let's just say how it worked. And it didn't work as smoothly as my parents didn't work. Mm-hmm. So what that taught me a lesson is it's okay to be different. It's okay to go off what's best for your marriage. I seen this one thing one time. It said, so what that he does the dishes and she cuts the grass. This is our marriage. And what I took on, oh, there's my guy.
On his way to
work. Yeah. So what I took on from that is you have to actually communicate and see what's best for the both of you. Because right. My ideas maybe not, even though my parents' ideas were great for them, it may not be great for me. So that's one thing I learned in my marriage is that you actually got to communicate, even in finances, to see what works best for us. Because one of us could be a big spender, one of us could be a big saver. But if we, yes. And that's another thing that you'll have to work out through, and knowing that as well.
That is so true. Okay, Stephen, what about you?
So yeah, big spender, big saver. That's what I try to manage. And I had to identify that because in our marriage, I'm the saver and my wife is the spender.
That's because both of you had that kind of background? Do you think that's the reason why, or you just think you would have been a saver no matter what?
I would have been a saver no matter what.
He used to save money when he was like 6 years old. He used to say, I don't know where he used to get this money from, and put it under his pillow or his bed.
Yeah. So I used to save my allowance. So,
but then ask everybody else for their money.
Oh, that's my daughter. He must be phlegmatic.
And if they gave me any money, I'll save that too. No, that's what I do. And I think So that's just a part of me. I love to save. I love to find new ways of saving. I love to find new ways of making, passive income to where, I could be working and then money can be making money for me at the same time. So I'm just about accumulating more and more and more. And my
Yeah.
wife is the more fun one, where if my wife don't come up with ideas on what we should be doing as a family trips and vacation, we ain't going nowhere. Like, I'll just be honest, right? We'll be getting pizza on the weekends and just finding a Netflix series and we just chilling, saving money.
Chilling and saving money.
Yeah.
Well, see, what I find interesting because a phlegmatic will save their money, and you'll never know what they're doing with it. They may not do anything with it, but they don't want to spend it.
Mhm.
They'll spoil it away, right?
Right.
Right.
No, that's actually true. So I'm
But
probably
cholerics,
hoarding it at the
right,
same
right.
time.
Melancholy personalities have their money put away because every dollar is accounted for. Every single penny is accounted for, right? The sanguine and the choleric, the sanguine, we want to spend our money on fun. I'm like your wife. Let's get it. Let's have
Right.
fun. You only live once, right?
Right.
Dan is like that too. You only live once because he pulls on that sanguine side of him. But choleric is like, listen, don't tell me what to do with my money. It's my money. I made it.
Right.
I'm working for it. We don't have enough. I'll work harder for it and get some more.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that was one of the issues in my marriage as well, because when I was married, I was more of a let's have some fun, and she was more of a let's see what we can do tomorrow type of thing. Let's save for tomorrow and stuff like that. And I was like, ooh, okay, I get what you're saying, but we got this extra money. Let's go do this and stuff like that. So, and that was a big issue actually for us in our marriage. But that's something I had to learn as well. That you can't have fun all the time, even though I wanted to. But
Yeah.
and that's another thing. Most people that know me, I rarely spend money on myself. But if I'm spending for like my significant other, my girlfriend, or my kids, I'll give them whatever they want. But
Yeah.
I'm definitely, and I know this is embarrassing to say, but if I need some work clothes, I'm going to find the cheapest work clothes I can find.
Oh yeah.
I'm going wherever I can. I'm not spending a bunch of money on nothing. I remember Steve remember this story. This is how I am. We were going to the outlet and I said, man, I'm gonna buy me some sneakers. I said, man, if I find, but I ain't spending no more than $60 for these sneakers. Man, I found some sneakers I liked. And guess how much they were? How much would they steal? Like 64? And I said, nah, I ain't
I
getting
thought it
them.
was less than that. I
I
thought
said,
it was
nah,
like 30,
not
40
today.
plus.
The devil
He
trying to
said
get me
30
for
or
my
40.
the devil trying to get me for my $4. It ain't happening.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It sounds like the shoes may have been only $30 or $34. Like, no, not for my four.
Yeah, they ain't getting my 4.
No, I think it's interesting because finances is definitely something that people struggle with in their relationships, right? And even the different personalities see money differently and how they spend money and how they save. And it can really, I've seen marriages destroyed by that. How do you navigate your decision making as it relates to your finances? How do you navigate that in your relationship? Like, how do you talk about money? How do you, decide how you're going to spend money? Because that's a very touchy topic. So how do you handle that in a relationship?
I think
Yeah.
it's a. Oh, I'm sorry, you got it.
Oh no, you're fine. You sure? Okay. So
Yeah.
I what
Yeah,
I
okay.
do, I try to keep priorities in check first. So I'm a person who needs everything to be in order. So if there's any ideas that is being put on the table, I can know if it's chaotic or not. You know what I mean? Just because all I have to do is compare it to our priorities, right? So if it's something, if I can't compromise my priorities, right? I would never compromise those because that's our foundation. And so my wife and I, we kind of got an understanding of that. Now, so when it comes to splurging, it's more tapping into, I would say, like our treasure. And then it's like, okay, we could do that. Yeah, we can do that. And I'm not a big budget person, although I save. I'm not a big budget person. If we have it in the savings or in the treasury, you know what I mean? Let's do our thing. Like you said, we only live once. Let's do our
Right,
thing. You know what I mean? If it's your birthday, let's do our thing.
right.
I, but it can't compromise the priorities. And so if
Gotcha.
I feel like it's going in that direction, I'll will it back and say, okay, although I'm not a big budget guy, we can't do that yet because we have this going, we have this plan. All we got to do is look at our calendar. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
if we got realistically, if we can't do something, I'll just communicate that. Listen, remember you wanted to get this done? You know, this month?
Not me.
Remember we agreed that we were going to get this done on this day? Well, just imagine this costs this costs that. So realistically, can we entertain that right now? So I think if we both keep that understanding, things usually stay afloat.
Yeah.
But my wife and I are usually pretty good about that. We pretty
That's
much
good.
are on the same page as far as what our priorities are. And so that allows us not to have to budget everything. Although we account for everything, we don't necessarily budget everything. Like we just took a trip to Mexico last year and we just went all out.
Oh, nice.
We don't like to have that cap over us where it's like, oh, we're under this budget, so we can no.
Mm-hmm.
If we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it. And it's not gonna
Right.
be a budget. Like we're just gonna go have the most fun we could possibly have. Obviously, in a Ford too. We're
Right.
not going to debt, but we just both are on the same page. As far as if we're gonna do this thing, let's do this thing.
Well,
And
you're
then-
squirreling away at every dime, so
Right.
at that point, you should be able to blow the top off the.
Yeah, no. You don't know what the top is, so.
Right.
All right. What about you, Jason?
Mine's is more okay. So what I've had to learn about communication when it comes to finances is stuff like this, just like you were saying, Karen, that is such a tough, touchy situation when it comes to actually sitting down and doing it, because that's something I had to learn when I was married, because I was actually total opposite of Steven. I was more of, if she wanted to do something, even if we didn't have it, I was going to find a way to make it happen. I was going to, which backfired in 2 months, but it always backfired in 2 months. I don't know why 2 months, but you always pay for it in that way, though. But but just like I was saying with the whole us having one account, it was good and bad to it. It did teach me to not just go out and do whatever I wanted to do all the time and stuff like that, because at the end of the day, she can still see what's going on. So I couldn't just go out and say, even though she packed me a lunch, I'm going out and buy my own lunch and stuff like that. So with her, she actually helped me out when it came to finances and helping us save and stuff like that. But it took those deep conversations of saying, hey, we can't do this, or more like what Steve said, hey, we can set a goal. Let's set a goal. Hey, this day we're going to do this. And you have something to look forward to at the same time. You're saving money. You're not just blowing money and things like that. So it's a tough topic, like you say, because a lot of men think, hey, I'm making my own money. I can do whatever I want with my money. But at the same time, when you're in a marriage, man, you have to compromise a lot of different things. And you got to be okay with it, not just just always throwing up in their face saying, well, I compromised this. I didn't get this car because you wanted to save up for this. No, y'all doing this thing together. We didn't get this car because we wanted to save up for this.
Yes. Now that's interesting, because Dan is a lot like you. If I say anything, they want to go get it. It doesn't matter. We could have 1 cent in the bank. He'd be like, baby, go and get it. We got it. Don't worry about it. You know, if he has to work 700 more hours, he'll do what he got to do.
700.
So I can have whatever it is I want. But I'm really, really careful about that, because I want him to retire. And I don't want to put any pressure on stuff that I don't really need. And I've gotten to a place, I think, in my life where less is more for me. Like I'll be downsizing this house the rest of this year. I'll be letting things go, because I'm okay with smaller. Smaller is better for me. Less is better for me. I don't need all the extra this, that, and the other. But I think you have to come to a realization that works for you as a couple, you know?
So let me ask you a question real quick. So before you got to that point, were you the opposite? Like, did you want bigger?
No. Well, let me tell you this. So I always think that when you have two people that have the same personality styles, if you both are frugal, one will be less frugal than the other. If you both are spenders, one will be less spender than the other. So Dan and I both were coming in the relationship spenders. So just so you know, he's an only child, so it was all about him, right? And for me, I'm the youngest of 10, but my mother was like, you want it, buy it. While you young, you working, buy what you want. So I would just put it on a credit card, and my mother, I would come home and she would say, well, how much did that cost? I'm like, I don't know. It was on a credit card. I don't know what it was. So I was a spender like that before I met Dan, right? So when we came together and we were both spenders, I started saying, somebody got to save or we're going to be living on the street. Somebody got to make sure that the bills are being paid, because if we're both living by the seat of our pants, we're going to be in the street with no pants. So that's kind of how it changed for me, especially as we started having children and stuff like that. We need to make sure that we were able to care for them. But yeah, and Dan's still a shopper to this day. Like he's a shopper. He loves to shop. Like we go somewhere, we go out of town, he's looking for the nearest, outlet or shopping or this or that. Even out of the country. Where's your nearest mall? He always want to buy something. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about when you had financial challenges in your relationship, how were you able to resolve those things?
One of my solutions is to make sure that my family has double of what they want before I have anything. Wow. So you want this, you want that, you have it. You know what I mean? Even if I got to scratch and come up with this, I would be more at peace knowing that they're at peace and they're secure and they're happy.
Yes.
Before I show some sort of look on my face like, well, I'm lacking this, I need this. No, you guys are saying you need that. Let's get you that.
Yeah.
And let's fix that. And then once they're at peace, then I'm at peace. And then I can figure this out or how we gonna get out of this financial situation. But that's more of my solution. We can't all be in lack. We can't all be asking for something. So
exactly.
If I can know what the situation is, but if I can find you guys only asking for something and I can afford to get you that, then that can buy me more time.
Right.
Right. For them not to feel the effects of that conflict or that bad situation. I just don't want them to feel the effects of it.
Yeah.
So that I make that my goal, and then that gives me the space to be able to operate with a clear mind.
Right. I agree.
Build off of getting out of this situation.
Right.
Love it.
Yeah. See. Okay. So mines go back a long way. So growing up, man, I used to see my father borrowing money at times. This is when we were living pretty bad, but he used to borrow money. So I kind of grew up with that mentality as well. So when I got into like I said, like if my spouse or my kids wanted something, it wasn't that to me. I couldn't say we're not going to do it. I was like, I got to figure this out how to do it. Mm-hmm. So I started borrowing in my 20s. I think I started borrowing money like crazy, right? Borrowing money, and you know what I do after I borrowed that money? Thank God for letting me borrow this money, right?
Right.
Thank God that I found a place I could borrow.
Oh
but so I started hearing little signs of like, you got to trust God. You got to trust God. Yeah. I'm like, oh yeah. No, I trust God. Look what he set me up with. I know 5 people right now that always let me borrow money. For some reason, these people stopped letting me borrow money. I was like, wow, look at the enemy. You know what I'm saying? So what I learned in that thing was literally I had to start trusting God. Even when I didn't see it coming, I had to trust God that it was still coming, even in my marriage and things like that. Because I remember one time, my mother and father used to bring the story up all the time. We were we were missing something. I can't remember. We needed a bill paid or something like that. And I said, this today, I'm not going to borrow. I told my parents the story. I said, I'm not going to borrow nothing. I'm just going to trust God. You know, a check came to me on a Sunday on a holiday.
Wow.
So how is that even possible? But ever since then, I was like, man, I'm just going to trust God, man, in these financial situations and things like that. And once I did that, I would never lack again.
I love it. I love that. That's excellent. That's excellent. Mm-hmm. Because I think a lot of times we do trust ourselves, right? Yeah. Cholerics are, very highly accomplished people. They work hard. They try to get whatever they need to get. And so they don't really feel like they have to trust God because God made them capable of doing anything they need to do. And
Right.
so that's the unfortunate thing, is that we sometimes walk away from what is important, and that is trusting God, the God of our understanding, and that is my Father in heaven. So, so let's talk about this other topic, because we only have 10 more minutes. Cannot believe we've been talking for 50 minutes already. It's
Yeah, I
crazy,
know.
right?
I know.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about forgiveness. Woo! How do you approach forgiveness in your relationship? How do you deal with forgiveness or forgiving someone?
What I think with me, it's more of not taking it so personal. Not taking it so personal, no matter what matter what she has said to me or things like that. Not taking it so personal, because when people are angry, they some people go as low blow as they possibly can. So me understanding that with my ex-wife, me understanding that sometimes, I'm not saying she did it all the time, but sometimes she would go low blow, and you would sit down and be like, it's not personal. It just, we was in a heated moment, and once I forgive her in my head, I'm easily ready to communicate whatever is going on, and forgive her as well. Because
Yes.
once things calm down like that, and once you show yourself vulnerable to your spouse and things like that, it makes them more able to say, well, okay, yeah, this is why I said this, or things like that. So forgiveness comes through me first. I'm not saying just through Jason. I'm saying through you first. Because
Mhm.
if you're not, no matter what your spouse say, if they come to you, if you, just like you said, you could go for 3 months holding on to a grudge. No matter what Dan was saying to you, it wasn't gonna penetrate at all. You know what I'm saying?
No,
So that's just the thing.
no.
Once I forgive in my head, we could get past almost anything.
Yeah. All right. I think that's excellent. And I think it does start with us, right? In forgiving. And I was definitely the one. Dan is more forgiving, has always been more forgiving and easier to forgive me than I have been of being able to forgive him. And so I've learned a lot about forgiveness, but I want to hear your thoughts about that, Stephen.
Mm-hmm.
How do you navigate or approach
Right.
forgiveness in your relationship?
Um, Forgiveness is not easy for me. So I'm kind of like you. Like, I've gotten better, but when you offended me, especially if you can't understand why I was offended, oh, we not talking. Like, no, I'm done. I can no longer communicate with you. I am shut down.
Wow.
Especially, and this will really get me. If I'm offended and I'm trying to communicate to you why I'm offended,
Hmm.
and then you begin an argument with me, and now we're arguing about something I'm offended by, oh man, that right there is gonna mess me up. And so I've gotten better. Like I said, we've been married for 10 years now. So
And
we
together for
trying to
20.
make, yeah, 20. But man, so now what I do is I begin to tackle like all of the reactions, like everything I just described to you, shutting down, cutting someone off. Like, okay, you don't want to hear why I'm offended. Well, I'll just cut you off completely. Like you said, the yes or no answers, or the
Right,
Yes.
right, right.
these 3 words I'm gonna give you. I don't know. I actually started tackling that and start saying, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not going to give you the
Yes.
same reaction that I used to, because it seemed like that's only more fuel
Yes.
for not forgiving you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It more
Mhm.
kind of motivates that thing, and it kind of, kind of gets me to go like that even more. So then what I stopped doing was, I guess the term would be like stonewalling. You know what I mean? I stopped doing that. Like,
Yeah.
okay, hold on. If I'm still offended, I'm going to continue to communicate with you, even if we're not talking about if you apologize, then I'm taking that apology as a sincere apology, and then we're going to continue to move, and we're going to continue until this thing really gets reconciled. Like you said, all apologies aren't, you can't process all apologies anyway. So instead of just making my spouse feel the weight of my offense, I'm more focused on getting the weight off of both of us. And I just start allowing her to, or allowing, I guess, myself not to be so offended. If
I
that
think
makes sense. Like I just stop. I stopped playing into the reaction game of just like, no, you don't make me feel better, and I'm gonna still keep treating you like crap. You know,
right,
Yeah.
right,
like I realized how childish that was in me. And,
right.
okay, stop. Okay, let's do some growing up here. Listen, she
Yeah.
loves you. She's not doing anything intentionally to hurt you, but you're offended. We get it, but let's get over this thing and let's really figure this out.
I
Man, see,
love
I've
that.
always. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
Oh,
Jason.
and I was about to say, I'm always fascinated when I hear people saying that they're doing something for a change or they're recognizing a change because I think that is so underrated in this world and in a
So
relationship
is.
itself, not even just marriage and its relationship itself. You see yourself doing something for 10 years and like you said in the 3 months, you don't talk for 3 months. I'm just doing this because it's just how I am. And then one day you wake up and you say, this ain't working, or I know this ain't right. That's
Mhm.
God right there. That's God showing you, yo, you got to grow up.
Yes.
You got to be better.
Yes.
If you want this
Yes.
thing to work, you got to do better. When I hear stories like that, that always fascinates me
Yeah.
because I love growth. I guess I'll say I
Yes.
love to see growth because
Yes.
I've been around with Steve and his marriage and things like that. It was great times, good times, bad times, and some of his bad times, I was like, ooh, I'm not sure what's happening here. But all of a sudden, boom, they come out and they're the best friends again, and I love that. But then
Yeah.
Me and Steve communicate so much. He'll tell me detail. Yo, guess what? This is what's happening. I changed this, I did this, and this is what worked. And I love that. I love
I
growth.
love it too.
Yeah, I love that.
I love it too. And it's interesting. It took us some years before we got to a space, but like we get mad at each other, it's a split second. It's really a split second. I get mad, he get mad. It'll be over in a split second. I'll go back and say, you know what? I just wanted to tell you why that bothered me. It bothered me because XYZ. Well,
Hmm.
babe, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that to you. I didn't know that that really bothered you. We would just hash it out really quickly and be done with it because
Hmm.
nothing has been that great that we can't get over. And the other thing I recognize too is one of my favorite quotes is unforgiveness is like drinking poison and hoping the other person will die.
Right.
That poison is
Right,
killing you. It's not killing
right.
nobody else.
Yep.
So that poison is in you. And every time I don't forgive somebody, I feel like I'm bonded to that issue or that
Yeah.
situation or that person forever until I let go. And or as we all heard, let go and let God, right?
Right,
I forgive you, I move on. And I love that. That's a freer way of living.
right. I
Right.
agree.
So we're down to the last few minutes of the show. What are there any comments or anything that you would like to leave our audience on the three topics we talked about: communication, forgiveness, or finances, or just any other tips or anything you want to share with the audience?
I would say as far as when it comes to marriage or relationships and things like that, not even just relationships, just in life in general, you have to recognize how big communication is, and even now that's something I'm still working on because I'm still not the most person I may not just vocally just come out and say no, this is what I need or something like that. I would say it in a way I would say it in a way to where you're gonna get it but you're not getting it direct or something like that. So what I'm learning is how big communication is when it comes to relationships and things like that. Because if a person doesn't know that you're upset, even though they know you're upset, but they don't know why you're upset, there's nothing they can do. And I thought you said it so perfectly. They'll come to their own conclusion on why you're upset. And then they'll
Mhm.
try to work on that. Well, she's upset because I didn't get that ice cream. Let me get that ice cream. I bring the ice cream home. That ain't why I'm upset. Well, what's the issue then? So communication itself is very, very big. And I think that's something, I don't know if you ever could get it 100% down packed, but it's something you have to learn to work on daily.
Yes, daily. Excellent. All
Yeah.
right, Stephen.
Just one of the tips I would say that helped me personally was when it comes to communication, you have to know when it comes to your communicating with your spouse, you have to know their expectations and you have to know your own expectations, and then you have to consider you know what I mean, both parties here.
Yes.
You have to deconstruct preconceived thoughts, narratives that you created that was not discussed between you and your spouse. Because I think I read a book where it said you have to have a diadana thought. Like you have to be one-minded. And
Yes.
so you with that one mind, you have to be able to communicate with that spouse. So what I'm saying is like when my wife and I are having conversations, she can't be having a conversation with me and four other thoughts that's going in my head
Right.
because we're coming up with these expectations and these decisions. But I got four other thoughts that either disagree, that's still considering it, and you know what I mean?
Right.
This is what we're gonna do. I gave my
Right.
word. You know, you gotta keep your word. Know what your spouse's expectations are, know what yours are. And again, you gotta deconstruct preconceived thoughts.
I
And
love it.
go from there.
I love it. Thank you guys so much. I
Thank
just think
you.
that it's important for people to understand their personality styles, because once you understand yourself, you're able to better understand your mate, and be able to build healthier, stronger relationships. It really does start with understanding. I thank you, brothers, for being with me on Personality Speaking next
Thank
week.
you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Next week, we're going to have the female version of this show. We're going to have all ladies next week
It sounds
talking
like you're
about
looking
this.
forward to that.
I am excited about it. And it's called Navigating Relationships, just like this one, from singleness to marriage, but it's the women's edition. And it's going to be next week at 7 p.m. live on Personality Speaking. But in addition to that, hey, Stephen, I'm about to talk to Naima. She might want to pop on that show.
I know, right? Yeah, I'm gonna let her know.
You might have to have her call me. I may have to put it on the flyer.
Okay. I'll let her know.
Well, anyway, thank you guys for joining me for Personality Speaking, where we're helping you to build healthier, stronger relationships through the understanding of personalities. We will see you next week live. We'll see, hopefully, Naima with us. But thank you so much for joining me. I love you guys. And
Love you as well.
I will see you guys next week. Take care.
All right.